Travis Wayne Goodsell. So, in the Doctrine and Covenants, section 85, verse 7, all Mormons know this guy. It's kept a sacred secret as a Mormon myth because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints won't talk about it. But you'll notice that Bruce R. McConkie put it in the verse heading. 6 through 12, one mighty and strong shall give the saints their inheritance in Zion. And so, as I did the Peace, Safety, Refuge video yesterday, this is confusing for Mormons because they're trying to reconcile what they read plain and preciously in our scriptures with what the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are doing, which is contrary to the scriptures. And so then you get guys like Avraham Gileadi, who tries to reconcile, gets excommunicated, comes begging on his hands and knees. Take me back, please. I won't talk about the man like Moses, please. And so, yeah. And there's been historical precedence. Now, the problem is, as I figured out in yesterday's video, is that Section 85 was not in the Doctrine and Covenants until the final year of Brigham Young's life. And so it was Brigham who chose to put this in the year before he died. He had a purpose and a reason behind that. Just like he had a purpose and a reason for forging Section 132 and using it to replace Joseph Smith's scriptures. But we're not talking about 132. We're talking about 85. And so this was not put in by Joseph either, because this was November 27th, 1832. And so this was before the Book of Commandments in 1833 and before the Doctrine and Covenants in 1835. And so why didn't it get published in either of those two? Well, it's because it's not a revelation to the church. Joseph Smith wrote a letter to W. Phelps. And so Brigham Young had this document and chose to put it in as scripture canon in his 1876 version of the Doctrine and Covenants. That's why we have it. And after he did this, all Mormons read it. Because we got new stuff in there. Let's find out what the new stuff is. All Mormons do that. It used to be that the prophets would give a teaser for conference to try to get Mormons to watch conference. They don't do that anymore. Even my parents, during their dating time, courting process, go and court, go and court. It was always arguing about what president, or well, he wasn't president, it was Elder Benson would say at conference to prove who's right and who's wrong in their relationship. Oh dear God, how did I ever get born? It is a miracle. Wonder of wonder, miracle of miracles. And so yeah, if it hadn't have been for that, we wouldn't have had Mormons over the course of decades claim to be him, the one mighty and strong. Because people used to be able to read and understand what they read. Unfortunately, with the conflicts of how do I reconcile this with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and keep my membership and my job at BYU and not be a part of September 6th, there gets confusion, stumbling blocks, blinders that get put in. And so it's ignored. It's not even footnoted. Even though Bruce R. McConkie put it in the verse subheading, it is not footnoted. He refuses to do it. And so I'm going to do it for you in this video. I've already told you who it is. But we're also going to focus on verse 8, which Mormons have been screwing up since I was a little kid. And I never understood what they were doing because I hadn't gotten to reading the Doctrine and Covenants yet. And so verse 8 is, while that man, who? Which pronoun does it belong to? Who was called of God and appointed, that putteth forth his hand to steady the ark of God. And this is how I found out about it, because of Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Shall fall by the shaft of death, like a tree that is smitten by the vivid shaft of lightning. Lightning strikes again. We're changing the theme song in the description below. I was going to put Ark Nemesis because I was thinking that could be the title of the video, and so I was going to do Star Trek Nemesis, the theme song. But I think I like Lightning Strikes Again. Indeedly do. Lightning Strikes Again. Judas Priest. And then there's others that do lightning. When the lightning strikes, Aerosmith. And then Dagon, I think, does Lightning Strikes Again. Lightning Strikes Again. So I think the title for Judas Priest is different. Lightning Strikes, maybe? So many to choose from. We'll do the Judas Priest one. And so there's some things here that Mormons miss because they're not thinking in the learning of the Jews. They're trying to reconcile Jesus with the Jewish Christ. Can't do it. Got to get rid of Jesus. Bye-bye, Jesus. Bye-bye. It's easy to do. He doesn't exist in the first place. You have no power over me, David Bowie. And so the Ark of the Covenant has the footnote, steady the Ark of the Covenant, referring to Numbers 151 and Doctrine and Covenants, section 64, which was given on 9/11. I refer you to 9/11. No, that's the second Nephi, or third Nephi, 2023. There's the part in Ether. And they're not referencing Ether, or not Ether, Ezra. Why not? Yeah, it's way down here in verse 12. Therefore it shall be done unto them as unto the children of the priest, as will be found recorded in the 2nd chapter, 61st and 62nd verses of Ezra. And so this is confusing. Footnote persons, Bruce R. McConaughey, what are you doing? No, it's not. Who did these footnotes, Bruce? But pay attention to this. This is important. You don't want to miss this. 61st and 62nd verses. And so, and the children of the priests. The children of Habaiah, the children of Koz, the children of Barzillai, which took a wife of the daughters of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and was called after their name. They're marrying outside of the covenant path. Okay? These sought their register among those that were reckoned by genealogy, but they were not found. Therefore were they as polluted, also adulterated, put from the priesthood, excluded. OR. Not supposed to have ORs. Supposed to have Hebrew. Abraham Gilead. Avraham Gilead. Oops. So you see that? The sons of God are taking the daughters of men. And because of doing that, they are polluting their genealogy, children, and are removed from the priesthood. This is different from the Joseph Smith translation of Genesis, where it says that the daughters of the sons of God married the sons of, no, that's Joseph Smith one. The Genesis one is the sons of God married the daughters of men. And then Joseph Smith has it changed to the daughters of the sons of God marry the sons of men. And the sons of men step forward to defend their marrying of the daughters of the sons of God and saying, hey, we're righteous. We're sons of God too. And so a big difference, because it all has to do with the latter days. This is what Joseph Smith is pointing out here. Mormons are marrying outside of the covenant. And since the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not authoritative, marrying a Mormon is... But there's what Joseph Smith is wanting to get across here is authority of the temple endowment, or initiatories, which he calls the endowment, and Brigham Young created the endowment ceremony, which has nothing to do with anything other than to control Mormons and keep them in bondage. 103 verse 16. This is what we're talking about. And so the prophecy is that the one mighty and strong would, and it shall come to pass that I, the Lord God, will send. Now he doesn't say raise up, but because of the pattern match of 7 and 8, it is raise up. One mighty and strong, holding the scepter of power in his hand. And so, yeah, he's not walking around with a scepter in his hand. These are symbolisms. white fur covering. Yeah, he needs to put on clothes. Whose mouth shall utter words, eternal words, while his bowels shall be a fountain of truth. I'm going to be a while there. I've got a fountain of truth coming out. To set in order the temple. That's the house of God. Bethel in Hebrew. And that's the whole thing here. Is that Joseph Smith is saying there will come a Mormon who will set in order the temple. But Joseph Smith did that. What do you mean? In the future, the temple will have to be set in order. Because Joseph Smith is talking about verse 8, the false prophet of the great and abominable church. And so there you see the arranging of lots for the saints, their inheritance, a place for them to live in Zion. Peace, safety, refuge, the only place on earth that will not be at war. And that's the whole thing, is that the whole world, because of Islam wanting revenge on the Jews and anybody who supports them, will cause war. I never did check. I meant to check. I checked months ago, and I checked years ago. But I wanted to check recently because I'm covering the subject. World population of Islam. Seriously? Good, you knew I spelled it wrong. 1.8 billion worldwide. So do you see what Hamas was up to? Yeah, they knew what they were doing. And so when Israel didn't fall for it, they were hesitating. That Palestinian Islamic jihadist group bombed their own hospital to blame the Jews for it, and it worked. Now the war has begun. And so you have one mighty and strong who's going to be a Mormon to set in order the great and abominable church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in order. The temple needs to be fixed because somebody along the way after Joseph Smith is going to screw it up. Change things. Put section 132 in, for example. It does sort of have to do with this, doesn't it? Exactly. And then you have the false prophet, which is it? Well, here's Numbers 33. That's different than 150, but that's... Let's check. Nope. Bruce. Because there are places that I'm now going to have to search for that talk about people who don't have authority who touch the Ark of the Covenant and die. That's why Indy tells Maid Marian to close her eyes. Indy! Touch Ark. No. Hand on Ark 2. 1 Samuel. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. Well, that's Mesopotamian fish god. That's not the Philistine god. What's going on here? Was this written during the Greek or Roman period of time? And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. Dagon is real. He's bowing to the ark. It's a statue. It's in the temple of Dagon, in the Holy of Holies, where the statue of Dagon is. This is the best comedy comes from the Jews, I tell you. Oh my God. And they took Dagon and set him in his place again. This is awesome. We're going over this. Tangent. And so, the next day, oh my God. Move over, Shakespeare. There's a new comedian in town. Oh my God. And when they arose early on the morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. And the head of Dagon and both palms of his hands were cut off. Upon the threshold, only the stump of Dagon was left to him. Oh my God. Oh my God. Therefore, neither the priests of Dagon, nor any that come into Dagon's house, tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod unto this day. Which gives you a date of when it was written. That is hilarious. priceless. There you are. But that's not the one I have. So Capricorn, the goat beast, is half fish, half goat. So, as the goat is Lucifer, Babylon, Dagon, not Philistines, but it's interesting that the Philistines are using Dagon. But, oh, just hilarious. And so, yeah, then it goes on to talk about how the Lord was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them and smote them with emerods, even Ashdod and the coast thereof. And when the men of Ashdod saw it, that it was so, they said, the ark of God of Israel shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us, and upon Dagon our God. Whoops. Let's now try to find the dyed ark. Leviticus. Let's see. And the Lord said unto Moses, speak unto Aaron thy brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not, for I will appear in a cloud upon the mercy seat. Leviticus 16:2. 1 Samuel 4. And it came to pass, when he made mention of the ark of God, that he fell from off the seat backwards by the side of the gate, and his neck brake, and he died. Here we go. Uzziah. Why didn't you? It's actually Usza, and then Chronicles has a repeat of it without the H at the end. 2 Samuel 6:7 with 1 Chronicles 13:10, which seems to start in 9, but in 6. And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Usza put forth his hand to the ark of God, and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. Steady the ark. Verse 8. Doctrine and Covenants 85. And the anger of the Lord is angry. Say my full name. No more nicknames. Was kindled against Usza, and God smote him there for his error. The vengeful, wrathful God. And there he died by the ark of God. And David was displeased, because the Lord had made a breach upon Usza. And he came, and he called the name of the place Perez Usza to this day. And so, pear is fruit, which is interesting, but if it's Paleo-Hebrew, the P would be the prefix determinative for res. Let's see. It looks like Usza was just somebody hired to carry the ark. And again, David gathered all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. David arose and went with all the people that were there with him from Baali to Utah to bring up from thence the ark of God. This is an Exodus here, guys. Whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts that dwelleth between the cherubims, Jesus Christ. The Jews are wrong. They don't know the name. And they set the ark of God upon a new cart and brought it out of the house of Abinadab, that was in Gibeah, and Usza and Ahio, not Ohio, the sons of Abinadab, drave the new cart. So that's who he is. And so it seems like he's not even a priest. He's just a hired hand to move it. You know, movers. Well, and David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord on all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even upon harps, harp twins. Did you catch that in the theme song in the description below the other day? Enter Sandman. And on psalteries, and on timbrels, and on cornets, and on cymbals. The Egyptians did the same thing in the Holy of Holies of their temples. And so that's why this is being referred to here, because David is the Egyptian Pharaoh. David, Moses. So there you see Moses. There he is. Got your Christian blinders on. Can't see it. And so when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Usza put forth his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, and the oxen shook. For the oxen shook, and the anger of the Lord was kindled, and he died. David was displeased, and David was afraid of the Lord that day, and said, How shall the ark of the Lord come to me? Come to me. Da, 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 da. So David would not remove the ark of the Lord unto him into the city of David. But David carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. Edom. Interesting use of word. Esau, Edom. We are told it's the same word. But this is 2 Samuel. And so, if you didn't know the background history, David was denied building the temple in Jerusalem. But he's the one that went to Salem before it was Jerusalem, before it had a temple, before it had a palace, when he was at Armageddon 1 with the Hittites. David Moses IV. And in the midst of the battle, he decided to go on vacation. Went to the little hamlet of Salem. And so we're not exactly sure what happened. The Egyptian records don't really tell us that we found so far. But the Bible talks about David and Bathsheba. And thus Solomon. And Solomon's stories have him building the temple with the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail and the Egyptian gold treasure plates that were buried in southern Illinois for the latter days Zion and New Jerusalem, mountain cities of the Lord, the symbol of Judaism, with the circle around it for the latter day Christ of the Jews. So now, with this background information that was improperly footnoted in section 85, let us go to the origin source for section 85, which is also not footnoted. And yes, those of you who've been following me know exactly who I'm talking about. And so Bruce Armaconky doesn't put Jesus, but he knows that Mormons will know it's Jesus. It's not Jesus. A prophet, Christ, shall arise like unto Moses, the man like Moses. See, for Christians, Constantine, instead of claiming to be the man like Moses, turned the character of the Jewish author into a literal person living during the Roman period to be the man like Moses, who, according to real history, failed because the Jews were slaughtered, the temple destroyed. The temple needs to be set in order. Oh, it's not the Jews after all. It's those people in America, those Mormons. Yep. And so then you have Islam, Muhammad. He's called the prophet. He is claiming to be verse 15 through 19. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Now, I see you're a little concerned, so I'm going to let you know this is not actually Moses speaking. It's okay, Grandpa, you can continue. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Anybody want to paint it? So, Muhammad then goes to the top of the mountain, goes to Utah. Not a coincidence. That's most likely why Islam is centering a whole ton of Islamic centers here in Utah, in the valley, for the day that shall burn as an oven, to get rid of us, following the pattern of Muhammad, and got the Quran by inspiration from Allah. And so, to show and demonstrate that he's a man of peace, he goes in village to village to village in the Middle East, slaughtering the people and burning the village down if they don't convert, and then building a shrine or a mosque on the top of the ruins, you know, the Dome of the Rock. Man of peace. Solomon, peace. Salem, solemn, peace. N is a suffix determinative for king. Paleo-Hebrew. And so he doesn't say cut off like Joseph Smith does in his Joseph Smith history, verse 40. But Joseph Smith is referring to this because he takes us to Acts. And Acts says, hey, I'm referring to this in Deuteronomy. This is our Christ. Joseph Smith said Muhammad is a false prophet. You catch that? Not only did the first vision emphasize that Jesus is a false prophet, but also implies Muhammad is a false prophet. It was the wrong time. John in Revelation gives us the dates of when he's coming. It's right now. And so, I will raise them up a prophet. But this corresponds with verse 7 of section 85. The one mighty and strong will set in order the temple. The man like Moses. And it's not Moses, it's David Moses. And so the Exodus author, and even the Deuteronomy author, and any of the 5 books of Moses authors, are speaking of David Moses by calling him only Moses. But the author of Chronicles and Samuel are speaking of David Moses with just David. See how they're doing that? It's the same guy. And it's not a literal history guy because they prophesy. This is an author of Deuteronomy speaking in the voice as if he were Moses. And he's saying, hey, there will be a prophet in the future. Samuel says before time it was called seer. So you go to 2 Nephi chapter 3. Oh, Joseph Smith, seer. And look, there's the man like Moses, who will be a Mormon. Not Jesus, not Muhammad. Because Christians, we're already 41 minutes? Seriously? I could make these videos shorter, guys, but because too many Mormons don't study their scriptures, they don't understand the background information. World population of Christianity. 2.2 billion. So 0.4 billion, 400 million more than the Muslim population. Which, interestingly, they have it at 1.6 billion on this version. But this is from PBS Learning Media, not the Google search answer. And so, yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints thinks they're going to conquer the world. How? Oh, right. They get Christians and Islam to fight each other for the battle of the death to see who can rule the world. So, verse 8. You look for patterns when you're doing research. Here it is. Verse 20. But the prophet. Joseph Smith calls him a man. He ain't no prophet. Which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak. Are you listening, Nelson? Or Oaks? Are you sure, Oaks, that you want to take over prematurely here and not wait until Nelson dies to make sure it's official? Because, oops, it's too late. Nelson already altered the temple yet again. 2019. Right before the Exodus year of 2020, which Mormons missed. Yeah, Jesus got blinders on. He had the stumbling blocks of Jesus being yoked to Jesus. How many Mormons fell for that? How many Mormons are capable of reading and understanding what they read? Nowhere does it say we yoke ourselves to Jesus. Take upon my yoke. You aren't yoked to Jesus. And now all the manuals are changed. God. And so, Nelson gets up and says, say his name. He's angry with nicknames. What name is it? Well, Isaiah says his name is Emmanuel. What name is it? over this. Speak in the name of other gods. So that's the one thing that is hilarious when you look at the big picture and ignore all of the atrocities and abominations that occurred against the Jewish author and the Jews, is that the Ten Commandments talk about worshiping the Jewish God. No other gods but the Jewish God. And yet, both Christianity and Islam and both of them talk about the Ten Commandments. It's a good thing. We embrace it. Don't have any other gods but Jesus or Allah. And nobody sees that as an abomination of anti-Semitism? Oh my God. And combined, they're like 4 billion? 4 billion of the population are brainwashed. Dear God. Even that prophet shall die. Ta-da! Dun-dun-dun. And so the Ark of the Covenant has to do with speaking on behalf of a false Christ. False God, false Christ, claiming authority he has not. He shall die. But it's not a general thing. It's a specific thing in the latter days when the man like Moses comes. Because the man like Moses will go up against the great and abominable church. 103:16, guys. He's Mormon. And thus, the false prophet of the great and abominable church is the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Dagon. The fish god. He's been recalled. He's had an abortion. He's been aborted. And so, yeah, you're not supposed to be afraid of him. Thou shalt not be afraid of him. He's false. And so then we have to take you to Isaiah. Let's see, is it? Nope. Nope. Yes. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Russell Marian Nelson? Baby name meaning. Russell, red, Marian, star of the sea. Red, star of the sea. Mars, husband of Venus. Venus, the symbol of the inverted pentagram talked about, son of the morning. The bride. Thus, the church. Thus, the president of the church. Lucifer, the great and abominable church. Russell Marian Nelson. Prophesied by a Jewish author of Isaiah and plagiarized in the Book of Mormon. For a reason. Because it was the Latin Vulgate that first introduced it, because Lucifer is a Roman deity. Thus in the Latin Vulgate. How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? Isaiah is saying Nelson's responsible for Armageddon, the coup of America. Isaiah, that's pretty bold. Do you have any evidence and documents like the Council for National Policy membership records? Do you have any receipts? Like the tithing or used to pay Russia for the war in Ukraine? And hacking in America? And the overthrow of elections? Coup? Through social media? I'd rather be Russian than vote Democrat. Through Steve Bannon, member of the Council for National Policy? Yeah. Isaiah is a true prophet, isn't he, Mormons? Thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven with Jesus. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like Moses. No, Travis, it says Most High. What's the Most High? The sun at noonday. Amen. El. Emmanuel. Amen, the Egyptian sun god at noonday. Bing. And so, there you have it. You shall be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Revelation talks about this too, the false prophet. It's in verse 19 or chapter 19. There at the end of the chapter. We shall go to it. And so yeah, on 9/11, Nelson reported 3 weeks later he fell and he couldn't get up. On his birthday, on 9/9, stars fell from Perseus, right here in the forehead of Medusa, the serpent girl who turns men to stone because she's porn. Turned to stone. Did I? Yes, lightning strikes. Almost forgot it, because it's so long of a video. And so Revelation, because, you know, the Book of Mormon, Nephi has his Tree of Life vision, which is Jewish Kabbalah, and sees the formation of the great and abominable church, and sees the fall thereof, and great shall be the fall, and Mormons shall turn upon Mormons. And likewise, talks about the two churches, and then talks about how this guy named John, an apostle of the Lamb, will talk all about this. Here it is, the Book of Revelation by St. John the Divine. And verse 19 is where he talks about the Lamb. Bruce R. McConkie tells us, the marriage supper of the Lamb. Lamb, it's what's for dinner. Is made ready. Testimony of Jesus. Come here, Lambert. Is the spirit of prophecy. Christ is King of kings and Lord of lords. Notice he put Jesus. This is all revelation, which means it's not real. And yet, Rapture Palooza, hilarious. Anna Kendrick's boyfriend murdered Jesus. Just shot him out of the sky. Because when we get to verse 11, he's saying, and I saw the heaven opened. He's seeing a sign in the heavens. And yet all of Christianity thinks that this is real and will happen in the future for the second coming. Because this is it. This is the second coming that everybody talks about. Even the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Except the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints take away the horse. A white horse. Who's the white horse in the sign in the heavens? Pegasus. Hercules' pet horse. with wings. It flies. You can also see Perseus with the white horse Pegasus. He flies as he's taking the Medusa head and showing it to the Kraken. Release the Kraken! And so, yeah, this is where all this comes from, guys. They're all prophesying about the latter days. There's going to be an actual Kraken. And Jesus come flying on his horse with Medusa's head, with serpents. He's having a bad hair day. And turns the wicked to stone. And then they fall before the Ark of the Covenant. That should be the theme song. Turn to Stone, Electric Light Orchestra. Just awesome. And so there's Emmanuel in verse 12. Eyes were a flame of fire, and no man knew his name but he himself. That's Amun, the Egyptian deity. As we're seeing the cow goddess Hathor, when she gets drunk after finding out his name, goes on a murder spree of mankind. Armageddon. Oh, dear God. And verse 20. And the beast was taken, because it's a real beast, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone. Ta-da! And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth. It's all real, right? Has nothing to do with the Book of Mormon. The word is mightier than the sword. That's where they got this from. And unfortunately, it's not mightier for Mormons. Mormons still refuse to believe. And they would rather die by the sword than deny the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. As they claim they're not anti-Semitic at all. Nope. They have friends who are Jews. Maybe not. And the fowls filled with flesh. Oh, dear God. And so I'm wondering if there are going to be fish in here somewhere. I don't see fish. That's too bad. That would have been hilarious. Would have been perfect for the Dagon ending. See, there's the rod of iron. And so, yeah, if you didn't know, Joseph Smith talks about this in section 58. It is in the footnotes. 9a, the marriage, wedding, supper, feast of the Lamb at the temple. And so, and a testimony might go forth from Zion, yea, from the mouth of the city of the heritage of God, about the marriage, supper, feast of the Lamb. At the great day to come, 8 April 2024. It's in the Book of Mormon, 3 Nephi 11. And to judge Israel as it was in ancient days, to divide the lands of heritage of God unto his children. And so there's verse 7, the inheritance of the saints in Zion. Restoring the temple, appointed to keep my storehouse. It's not an LLC corporation, in case you didn't know. It's Bishop's Storehouse. Joseph Smith's tithing was actually to help the poor. Section 119 is a forged document and teaches priestcraft. It is 119, right? Not 115. Yeah. Yeah, 15 is the name of the church. Oops. Also a forged document. We're done. Isn't this fun when I find something new to talk about that wasn't part of the script?